What's good, everyone? Hunter Doyle here from Philly Insider Podcast and InsideTheEagles.com. So, usually I've got my buddy Sanjay with me. He will be here. He's just going to be about 20 minutes late. So, stay tuned. He's going to be here to talk some Dallas week. With that said, guys, it is Dallas week, and I'm pumped. I can't wait. I can't wait to see good old-fashioned Eagles beat down on the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be a blast. But before we get into it, y'all, make sure you go check the links and the @ in the description. Bird Gang Nation Sports Media here. We're doing big things. We got a lot of content creators on here. I'm going to be on here every Thursday, hopefully with Sanjay or someone else from Philly Insider. And yeah, I mean, make sure you guys go check us out on Philly Insider. Go sub us up. And yeah, with that said, let's just get right into it. So first off, I kind of want to go over the injury report because we've had some key names pop up on here. Obviously, we know Brandon Graham is out for the year, right? And we know that Brandon Brooks, he is at least out for a little bit. He's going to be on IR, so it could range from 3 to 6 weeks. I'm not sure if they specified yet. But right now, for the week, we've got Jay Jaw. He is on limited practice today. I imagine he'll play. He was limited last week as well with that ankle injury. Fletcher Cox rested today, and same with Jason Kelsey, so they'll probably still play. McLeod is limited. We'll see if he suits up this week. I'm not sure if this is the week yet. Hassan Ridgeway did not practice today. He has an illness, so that's a little bit concerning just because he's been a key part of this D-line so far. I would say he's been pretty impressive so far, and I like what I've seen from him. So I know PFF didn't give him a great grade, but I think he's made a few key plays that have helped us in run defense. So keep an eye on that. Miles Sanders was limited today with a chest injury. That's not good to hear. Hopefully he's a go because while I love Kenny, I think Miles just brings that spark that we need. Just in between the tackles, finding the lanes, making guys miss. And then the last guy, Davion Taylor, did not practice, calf injury. Last week was his debut. Only played 9 snaps, but I want to say he was the highest Eagles linebacker or highest graded Eagles linebacker of that week. I might be wrong, but he had a pretty good grade. So, hopefully he can play. It looks like the instincts are maybe starting to catch up with the athleticism a little bit, which I think was what we were all hoping for during his time as an Eagle, was that while we knew he was freaky athletic, we didn't know if the IQ was going to meet that or match that. So with that said, before we get any further, guys, I want to play a little special video. I made this just for context last year, so I apologize for any old clips that might be in there, but it's Dallas week, and I'm pumped up, so I want to play this to get you guys pumped up. Yeah. First, I want to talk about a topic that, and again, Sanjay will be joining in here in about like 10 or so minutes. So just be patient with that. So for right now, I'm rocking on my own. But I wanted to address first Isaac Sayamalu this past week, I thought was phenomenal. I went back and watched the tape on him. Keep an eye out tonight on Philly Insider. I'll have a film breakdown dropping on him. I did an earlier film breakdown today on just one individual play that I wanted to highlight. So make sure you guys go check that out. But Sayamalu, I did a breakdown on, and again, I'll release it tonight. But I thought he was just amazing in pass protection. I mean, just considering the guys he's going up against. Look, I know Arik Armstead didn't have a great year last year, but DJ Jones and Javon Kinlaw. I mean, Kinlaw's still got a lot of potential. DJ Jones is a pretty good player, and he handled stunts pretty well too. There was one snap where they sent Bosa on a stunt. He looped around inside, and Sayamalu did a fine job. And there was another Sayamalu countered both of them. Unfortunately, Goddard got beat around the edge by Bosa, but Sayamalu with the stunts, I mean, no problem at all. And just a really good job in the run game, getting out there, doing his job. I saw one play where he was pulling on a power run and did a really good job getting out there and just eating up the dude pretty much. And he did a really good job of just, continuing to fight to the whistle too, which I think is big. I think, it discourages me when I see guys like just kind of lollygagging out there a little bit, not really caring. But Sayamalu, not the case. And I believe he's been one of the highest graded pass blockers for us thus far this season, and deservedly so. He's been awesome. And I just think, with the other guys on the line, he's not going to get a lot of recognition, but he deserves a lot of recognition because on any other line, he might be their best player. And there's a lot of good offensive lines in the league, but I feel confident saying that in a good number of the offensive lines around in the league, he would be one of the notable names. And, he's definitely the weakest link out of the guys on our line. I always say that, but that's not a knock on him because we have so much talent there that I think it's honestly, for him to even be the weakest link, it's just a testament to the guys we have. But Sayamalu is an above average guy. And we could be looking, if he keeps playing like this, we could be looking at a Pro Bowl caliber season for him, I think. I feel confident saying that he has that potential. And I think you look at him against Atlanta 2 years ago versus Grady Jarrett, and then last week versus Grady Jarrett, a world of difference between those two games. And that was really, that game against Grady Jarrett a couple years ago was really the only really bad game I would say Sayamalu had that year. This year, I mean, he handled him pretty well, handled the Niners front pretty well. I'm feeling good about Sayamalu thus far. So I just want to give him some props. I think he's going to be key. I think you saw last year when he got hurt at one point, I thought he did a pretty decent job. I mean, or sorry, that's not what I was going to say. I think when the other guys were out, he did a pretty good job. But I was going to say, I completely lost my train of thought. Sorry. That when he went out, you saw the impact that it had on the offensive line. Now, I know a lot of guys went out last year. I want to specify that. But specifically when Sayamalu was out, I personally noticed it on the film. And I think it was big. And Herbig did his job, whether he was at left or right guard. But, he couldn't play both spots. And obviously, Jamon Brown, that hurt us too. There was a couple other times where Sayamalu was out. Even when Herbig was getting his feet under him, Sayamalu is a big part of this offensive line. So I just want to give him some props. Got a few more people joining in here. AK, what's going on, brother? Good to see you in here, my man. Mrs. Bird Gang, awesome to see you in here. Thank you for all the work you do for Bird Gang Nation Sports Media. So supportive. We appreciate you so much. And Jordy Fighter, we got Jordy in here. What's going on, brother? Good to see you in here, and thanks for stopping in for a quick minute. With that said, I do want to wait to get to some of the big topics for when Sanjay is here, just because I think he's going to want to talk about a couple of them. But I want to talk about Terrence Steele, I believe, is starting at right tackle, I want to say. Left tackle. I know he's starting at I forget which one Lyle plays, but this is going to be a big matchup for the Eagles to take advantage of. He didn't look that great from what I heard last week. It's a world of difference between him and Lyle, right? I mean, those aren't easy shoes to fill. And yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It is right tackle. I was right the first time. So right. But look, I know BG is out. You can still move Josh Sweat over there. Sometimes he doesn't always have to play the stand-up position, right? Hopefully Barnett moves over there a little bit. I don't love Barnett in that stand-up role, and it doesn't really matter where he is. He's going to get a personal foul call every game. Still ticked off about that, but you can still move Barnett there. I think he's better with his hand in the dirt. That's my opinion on it. And Milton, I think, could move out there a little bit too. So while Brandon Graham, there's no replacing him. Hopefully you can replace his production with a collective effort. Even Cox, I mean, maybe he could move out a little bit out of that 3-1 technique. Maybe play a little more 4 technique where Brandon Graham was, I believe, most of the time. So, and they weren't playing 3-4 all the time. They're mixing it up, so it's going to be different. But I think there's going to be opportunities to take advantage of that matchup regardless. And you should destroy this matchup in the run game. I mean, with how well our run defense has been playing, I think this is a matchup you just have to absolutely exploit in the run game. Now, in the pass rush, look, he's going to be more prepared this week, or he was prepared last week too, but he's going to get thrown into the fire a little bit against our defensive line, but he's going to be prepared. I mean, he's going to come out there ready to play Terrence Steele, but I just think we have too much talent to handle, and throw some stunts at him too. Throw some tackle and stunts at him. I mean, have Barnett over there, and then have Milton coming around, or Javon coming around. I mean, I personally do like Javon kind of just getting north to south, but whatever you got to do to throw this guy off his game, or even if you are in a 3-4 and you have Patrick Johnson or Avery coming off of the edge, or just ways to overwhelm him and kind of just get them to make some mistakes in terms of communication and pass protection, I think would be huge. So this is going to be a matchup to exploit for sure. And yeah, I'm feeling good about our chances with it. Again, just with the talent on our defensive front. And going on to the next topic, I mean, I want to talk about the Cowboys secondary a little bit too, because overall the Cowboys defenses just looked better. They've looked better this year. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I mean, I've been impressed with them. I've been impressed with the job Dan Quinn has done. And I did expect him to take a step up this year with Dan Quinn. I thought it was going to be better than Mike Nolan, but I am surprised at how much they have taken a step up. I didn't think it would be to this extent. I'm definitely a little bit surprised, and props to Dan Quinn. I mean, he's doing a good job. I think the big thing with that secondary and Dan Quinn is the fact that they have DeMonte KZ in there, who has been with Dan Quinn before, knows the scheme, and he's played well. He has played well thus far. He's made some big plays, and overall just seems like he's in the right spot at the right time generally. So, he's going to be someone to keep an eye on. I mean, I don't want Hurts to try to test him too much downfield. What's up, Devontae Smith? And, I think that I think it's definitely, a place where we're going to be able to take advantage. I think Dan Quinn runs. I haven't watched a ton of their scheme, to be honest. I've watched individual players, but I need to keep a little bit more of an eye on whether they've been running man or zone. I believe the expectation was that they were going to run more man when Dan Quinn got there. If that's the case, you're going to have to take advantage. I mean, you've seen the first couple weeks. Like I said, preseason, I said this all offseason too. Our receivers aren't going to play one single spot, right? They're going to move around a little bit. And you've seen Quez and Rager both play the slot, as well as J. Joe more so for blocking. But you've seen Devontae in the slot a little bit. But big point being, Quez or Rager, whoever is in there, I want to see them just exploit Jordan Lewis. Look, we have seen Jordan Lewis. We've seen him before. We've seen him versus the Eagles. We've seen him in general. He's not that good of a slot corner, in my opinion. He is serviceable, and he's definitely better than the average slot corner, I would say. But there's no reason you shouldn't exploit that matchup. I mean, especially with the speed you have there and Quez's route running ability. I'll do a breakdown on Quez hopefully tomorrow at some point. I thought he looked really good, even though he didn't get the ball a ton. And when he did get the ball, he obviously made an impact with the deep pass, but also that out route I believe he had earlier in the game. So, look, you're gonna have to look to Quez a little bit more, because I think the big thing with Hurts that I was a little disappointed at was he was always looking at Devontae last week, and you have to get through a progression at certain points. You have to be able to get through 1 to 4, and you can't just there's times to stare down guys and wait for them to break open and throw with anticipation, but there's also times not to do that. And I think Jalen's still learning that. There was a time where literally he rolled out to his left and Goddard was right there wide open underneath. And it was kind of a levels concept. So Devontae was, also he was right behind Goddard, running the same direction. And he tried to get it to Devontae and was looking at him when he could have just thrown it right to Goddard. So it comes down to decision-making, I think, for Jalen Hurts as well. But overall, I would like to see them, in addition to that matchup with the slot, Devontae, I think you obviously attack that from time to time. I don't think there's too much to go in depth on there. I mean, whether it's, he's going to know Diggs too. I mean, they both played in practice together at Alabama. But I also think there's going to be times where, you need to look to your tight ends, because, look, if Micah Parsons is playing defensive end more often with DeMarcus Lawrence being out, there is no one. I mean, Leighton and Jordan Lewis, I think, not Jordan Lewis, Jalen Smith, I think they're going to have better years than they did last year. And I believe they are having better years thus far. So I do think that, that's something to consider. But in addition, I mean, I still don't think they're any match for Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. Well, we'll see if Zach Ertz plays, but at least Dallas Goedert coming across the middle of the field, you got to get the ball in Dallas Goedert's hands a little more often. I haven't liked that the Eagles haven't done that as much, especially in the red zone too. I thought they would have at least taken one shot to him, inside the 10-yard line and try to get them in the middle of the field there. So, the secondary, Cowboys secondary, DeMonte KZ looks better. Donovan Wilson's look better too. I'll give him some credit where credit is due. But, the cornerback position, attack that underneath. Attack it on short routes. And, if they're going to hang a guy deep, take someone, throw Quez out there to take that attention deep and then hit him underneath with Rager or Smith. And hopefully Rager's better. Rager got squeezed to the sideline last week by Diamador Lenore, who is a good player. I mean, he's had a good offseason. He had a good preseason. And he has played well through 2 weeks. You got to give him credit where credit is due. I personally was a little bit bigger of a fan of him than Zach McPherson in the draft, but we will see how that works out. Zach's still got a lot of time to prove himself. I also wanted us to move up for Yafatu Afanwu. The point being, Lenoir is not anyone to scoff at, even though he was a 5th-round pick. And he held his own, and that was a textbook squeeze by him to get Rager to step out of bounds there. And he knew it, too. Like, he knew Rager had to come back and bounce for that ball. So he won. He won that route, and I didn't think Rager looked that great last week, and it's something that's got to get cleaned up with Rager. I mean, it's something I thought he was getting a little bit better at it at the end of last year, but it's obviously still an issue that he needs to fix. So I'm hoping he gets that cleaned up this week so that he can attack these matchups. And yeah, overall the wide receiver core's got to be a little bit better than last week. But Jalen Hurts, it's all a moving system, right? Like, I think everyone had a little bit of mistakes too, so it's not all on Jalen Hurts. It's not all on the wide receivers. It's not all in the play calling, even though that was a big part of it. But they've got to be better. So I think this is a secondary they should be able to boost their confidence back up against and hopefully take advantage of. So we've got Sanjay here joining on, being able to talk here Eagles, even in the midst of a busy day. So Sanjay, tell us how you're doing, man. How you feeling about Dallas week? And, yeah, what's going on?
Well, my dude, I'm sitting here in this college hallway, so I can't really be screaming my head off, but I'm kind of hyped. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, busy day today, but we managed to find a little bit of a spot, a little bit of quiet to just do this. And I'm feeling good though, man. The energy is building. The hype is building. Like I said, I got to tone it down right now, but it's there.
Hey, we love it. We love it. Well, Sanjay, first, I want to start off with the topic that I thought you might be interested in talking about. So I've talked a little bit about just the matchups in general, how Lyle Collins is not playing right tackle because of a suspension. So Terrence Steele is playing there. That's a matchup to exploit. I talked a little bit about Isaac Seumalo because I've been impressed with him. And I talked a little bit about the Cowboys secondary. So I want to talk to you a little bit about a guy who's really looked good in his first 2 NFL games on that Cowboys defense and is playing a little bit more defensive end with DeMarcus Lawrence out right now.
Okay.
Micah Parsons right now. I mean, how much trouble do you expect him to give the Eagles? What kind of role do you expect him to play on Sunday? And, yeah, just what are your expectations for how the Eagles can kind of counter his ability?
Man, this dude gave – I like watching the Chargers, so I got to see him last week especially. I got to look into a few of his snaps. This guy was everywhere, man. He was – coming off the edge. He was dropping into coverage. He was doing whatever. He was doing everything under the sun out there to just cause chaos for that Chargers offense. And I'm really worried, man. He's one of those combinations of athleticism, of speed, of power, which is just so hard to stop. And then you add that now they're kind of throwing him all over the place. I don't really like Dan Quinn that much, but he put Parsons in a lot of different looks, just confused the offensive line like over and over and over. I don't know, man. This is going to be something to deal with. And he's quick enough to get back into coverage, too. You can't just, pick on him there either. He's got it all. And how we deal with him, I'm very interested to see. Hurts is going to be running a good bit.
Definitely. And I think it was encouraging to see how well Lane Johnson did last week.
Mm.
I watched a couple clips of him and watched a little bit of the tape. He had a really strong week. So I'm hoping he's able to at least slow. They are moving this guy all over the place, right? Like he's not just playing at defensive end. Like he can go and line up on the interior, standing up. Like you can drop him back into coverage if you need him to. Dan Quinn he's getting crafty with it. I mean, it's not going to be
I
easy
think
by
they've
any
come to
means
term
to
that the
stop him.
star role, right? Like you see guys like Ramsey doing that role now. I think they call that the star, right? Am I wrong about that?
I feel Ramsey's a little bit different because he's not
No, I
blitzing
know,
a
different
ton,
position,
but
but like you know what I mean. That type of like hybrid defensive player where they're just everywhere.
yeah, kind of like what Patrick Johnson did at Tulane. But Parsons, I mean, that's the thing with him, man, is he can rush the passer, but then he can also drop back and go cover your number 3 receiver. Like it's unreal. It's unreal how great he is and the athletic ability, the size he has for his position, and yeah, he can do anything you ask him to. So, any other thoughts? Anything you want to bring up to talk about before I move on to some of my other topics?
No, man, let's move right along.
All right, dude. So Landon Dickerson, I want to talk about this first because this is something that
Ooh,
I definitely
okay.
have some opinions about, as you saw in the group chat earlier today, obviously.
I have some
So,
opinions about this as well.
yeah, look, I watched the tape as well, but I think even more telling was not just watching the tape. If you go watch Breaking the Birds, I mean, a lot of Eagles fans watch him. I was planning on doing a Dickerson breakdown, but I was like, you know what? Breaking the Birds is going to do one. So I'll just wait for his to come out. And then
Yep.
he did one. Look, this guy did not play well last week. And this by no means is an indication of how I feel about him long term. I feel excellent about him long term. I think he's our future center, and I want to make
Yep.
that crystal clear. His ceiling is sky high.
He's the future.
But in terms of playing right guard on Dallas week, I know he got thrown into the fire Sunday within 1 week, such as his stance. He's a little bit too upright, and that exposes his chest. And he's also a little imbalanced, and his feet are not getting set. He's not getting proper strike. That's why he got pressured quite a bit in the bull rush in his chest, but also just got beat around the edge or inside as well. He did not handle stunts very well. You look at the other side of the line. You look at Milo Mailata, Kelsey. They did an excellent job handling stunts. Then you look at Dickerson and Johnson. Johnson's probably doing his job, but Dickerson did not handle stunts very well at all. Run blocking, I'd say he did okay, but I am really worried about that. Especially, we already talked about Parsons. Like, they're going to stunt Parsons inside, and they're going to throw him at Dickerson a good amount of time. Like, I can pretty much already guarantee that. In my opinion, I think that's pretty much a given. So I'm worried about him, man. I mean, look, I love Dickerson again. I think he is the future at center. But he only started 4 games at right guard in college. Only 4. And I think that it would be in our best interest to start Nate Herbig. That's how I feel about it. But, we'll see. I do wish him the best. And if he does well, awesome. I'll eat my words, and I'm going to be hype about it. And maybe a week's preparation does benefit him a little bit. But this is something I'm concerned about, man.
I'll say this, like you, this is one of those things where I'm just like,
He is on the 53.
He's like, you just have to give it to the guy who's been there a little bit longer in this case. I get the point of developing a young guy, but especially for this game where you got to win at all costs. You just have to. Like, I think that you just have to start Herbig on that. Like, don't get me wrong. Like you said, Dickerson is the future. We drafted him that high for a reason. He's got some versatility to him. And can he play guard in a pinch? And I won't be mad at it. Yeah, he can play guard in a pinch. But that's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for in a pinch right now. It's been a week. And mind you, it's really looking like Sirianni is going to ride with him. So this is probably irrelevant anyway. But I personally would prefer to at least see Herbig given a shot. I think he at least earned a chance, right? From last year, didn't the snaps from last year earn him a chance? Like, I don't know. It's maybe Dickerson is really just showing out that much in practice. Maybe we don't see that. But, like, I don't know. I thought the guy at least deserved a shot last week.
Right. And I kind don't want to Herbig not show. Oh, I think I just cut out a little bit.
But a little bit. You did cut out.
Did Nate Herbig did Nate Herbig not show that he was an elite backup guard last year, even with the extra weight he had on there? Look, no one's going to be arguing this guy for being an All-Pro or a Pro Bowl caliber guy, but I do think, like you said, like he earned the shot. Like, look, this guy was probably one of our best pass protectors last year, and I know that's not saying much considering the rotating guys we had there, but he was definitely one of our best on the offensive line. And I think it's, I don't think it's fair when he's been really good at both left and right guard, right? And he lost the weight. I always mention this, but like he lost weight and he really put in the work this offseason to get better and get, so he could, the big concern was that he wasn't good enough to pull in the run game. And I'm not sure Dickerson's quite there yet either with some of the mechanical issues he's got. But again, like, I don't want to bash Dickerson again. Like, I can't stress enough that I have confidence in him in the future. But yeah, man, I don't get how. And again, like, I know the coaching staff wasn't here last year, but look, Herbig to me is the better option. Any other thoughts?
Well, the other thing which I think people really should consider is Dickerson's also coming off a pretty bad injury. Do we really just want to throw him into the fire like this? Like, that is another thing that I feel like should be raised, which isn't being talked about enough. Like, you typically want to let the guy, like, and especially with the big guys get injured a lot. It takes them a lot longer to recover. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe, and again, obviously, we don't evaluate any of the players. I'm sure the staff's doing their best with that. Yeah. Like, that's another thing to watch for.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think we talked enough about that. We've kind of voiced our concerns. I want to talk about, something that a guy who was on your fantasy team for a hot second, who, is now had a really good week right after you dropped him. He is really just one of my favorite players just because of the Memphis running back connection and how many guys have come out of there. So, man, what do you think about this? I've heard Dallas fans now saying they want Pollard over Zeke for the majority of snaps. And week one, I think you can still, I think you can still chalk that up to the fact that, look, Tampa's D front. I mean, you're not going to run the ball on them that much. I didn't disagree with the game line there. And I also, you also saw Tony Pollard kind of used as that gadget type of guy. And I still think he can be that gadget type of guy, but I don't know, man. I mean, look, he's starting to make some strides to where last week I know he only had 13 carries, but he looked really good. What do you think about this whole running back situation, and how much trouble do you think these guys give us right now?
So, one, I'll say this. I think people are overreacting a little bit. Just a little bit.
It's Dallas fans for you.
But, for one, I'm not the biggest fan of Zeke either. I think he never had another year like he did his rookie year. His rookie year was standout. It was amazing. It was everything. He's never had another year like that. We've only ever seen Zeke decline. And this year, he's been in decent shape. If you ask me, he's just not the same guy. And I think Dallas fans just keep waiting for, like, rookie Zeke to come back, and that's not happening. Now, as for Pollard, I think really until I see him stand on his own, maybe he'll prove me wrong. And don't get me wrong, Pollard is that dude. He's got a lot of potential. But I think right now he's really benefiting from being the change of pace back and from not being the bell cow. Because it's just such a different style from Zeke. Like with Zeke, you're dealing with bruise and bash and in between the tackles, pure power. And then Pollard's also got a little bit more speed to him. So guys start getting used to Zeke. Then Mike McCarthy throws Pollard in there. And then all of a sudden he's a step faster and you're a step behind. So, I think right now he is benefiting a bit from being the change of pace guy and from not being the bell cow. I do also think he has it in him to be the bell cow, which is interesting. If Dallas hadn't paid Zeke that contract, would they be looking to walk away now?
Exactly.
So, I don't know, man. I think for me personally, right now, I think it's too close to call. I need to see Pollard do it more than once before I start telling people that he's better than Zeke. But, it's definitely a storyline to watch at least.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point about the bell cow situation too, and how that kind of affects, the way in which Pollard looks. And because the defense, I mean, that really is the whole point of the change of pace back, is that you catch them off guard and, they have to kind of readjust how they're defending you based on which guy is out there. So I think that's a big thing. How do you think our run D is going to fare against that combo this upcoming week? Obviously, second level has been a concern with Wilson and, just the rotating guys in and out of there. That probably isn't expected, but our D front is still there. You do lose Brandon Graham, which is a huge part of that defensive run game. So that's a huge loss. But how do you think we fare? Do you think I think Fletch, while he hasn't been the pass rush guy we expected, I think it's still nice that you can count on him to just take up space in the middle there in the run game.
He still gets the double team. He still has that respect.
Exactly. And Hargrave, just getting vertical immediately and being in the backfield. So how do you expect this team? And Josh Sweat, too, I feel like has been really good in run defense. So considering the injuries, the second level issues against this run game with, an offensive line, I would argue isn't the same as it used to be in Dallas, obviously, but still fairly good.
Well, man, the one I would be more concerned about is I would probably be more concerned for Zeke, especially just because with Graham out, we need pressure against Dak. We really need pressure against Dak. And Zeke has shown that his blocking has started to resurface back up to like rookie levels again. If anything, it's probably the best it's been in a long time. In that Tampa game, he was their second best lineman out there. I think Rossi put that in our chat watching that game. Like, he was really out there picking guys up. So, I'm more worried about Zeke just because I think he'll do a bigger silent role in just taking us apart. I think he'll be the bigger silent problem. But I think Pollard will put up better stats. For everything we just discussed, I think change of pace is going to catch a few guys off guard. And in the second level, I'm a lot more worried about him than I am of Zeke. Zeke hasn't really shown that ability to get past the second level in recent memory. So, like, Pollard's a lot more of a threat there. So while I think Pollard will be the bigger problem, like stat-wise, it'll show up like he did a lot more to us. I'm more concerned with Zeke preventing us from getting the pressure we need on Dak. So, yeah.
Definitely. I want to give a few shout-outs here in the comments first before we move on. Did I interrupt you or were you done?
No, I was done.
Okay. Robert, what's going on, man? Eagles need to get Ertz and Goddard more involved. Yeah, we can talk about that too in just a quick minute. And also if Ertz is going to play. Idrip pretty much echoing our thoughts. I mean, if Landon is doing bad enough, you got to put Herbig in at some point in this game. Like, again, like any other game this year, man, I'd say like, all right, let's give him the valuable reps. But this game is just like, I'm not taking. You want to win this game, and it's still early in the season. Like, you got to win this. This is a must-win game.
Sirianni should also, just towards that, Sirianni should also be thinking right now. Not all the fan base is sold on him, and especially after his calls and that when the Niners game, some of those cutesy calls, which, as he put it, like it'd do you a lot of good to win Dallas week, to win over some of this fan base, some of the city.
Yeah, absolutely. Tight ends could eat this game. Consistency
if we call for them.
Yeah. Hopefully our run D shows up. I want to see our defense put Elliott on his
man.
You know what? And it wouldn't be bad to see Prescott picking up daisies either. Yeah. But let's talk about Ertz and Goddard and kind of the lack of involvement last week, man. I mean, again, Parsons is going to be used in the pass rush a good amount of the time, right? I think that's kind of just I'm not saying he's not going to move around a little bit, but I do think that primarily he's going to be used there just because of the just need that the Cowboys have right now. And look, Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch, I think they're going to play better this year under Dan Quinn at the end of it. I want to say that. But I do think that we can attack that middle of the field. And I know the safeties for Dallas have played pretty well, but you got to attack some of these matchups with these tight ends you got in here. I mean, look, Goddard getting the ball one time last week is just not acceptable to me. And there was one play that Brian Westbrook broke down where Hurts is rolling to his left, and he's just looking at Devontae the whole time, which we talked about in our post-game recap. And Devontae, it's a levels concept. So Devontae's at the second level. Goddard's down here, just kind of in the flat, but it's a rollout. And Goddard's wide open, and he tries to flick the ball to Devontae, who was somewhat open, but Goddard's right there, and you get some yards after catch with him. And it's just like you got to look for Goddard a little bit more. So I think they've got to – also, I think there's going to be more plays that call for them, especially in the red zone too. I think they've got to make it a point of emphasis, not just on Hurts, but on Sirianni's end. he's got to make it a point of emphasis to get the ball in their hands, because even if Ertz isn't playing, like, Goddard's still a monster. He's going to do stuff after the catch, run a couple tight end screens to him, have him blocking, and then release out into the, in the red zone. Having no tight end delay block is just deadly. I mean, you saw it with Gronk in the first game. I mean, he scored a couple times off of that, I believe. So find ways to get these guys involved, even in the middle of the field running routes. Look, they're big bodies in the middle of that end zone. It's going to be hard for them not to come down with the ball there. So I want to see them more involved, man. What have you thought about the tight end usage thus far?
So the tight end usage has been absent is the right word. In just that, if anything, we've only been using them to block. And mind you, that is that's a fair use of the tight end, but like the tight end is also such a big part of the passing game in like today's NFL that not having our guys out there kind of like limits our offensive potential, especially when we have really young wide receivers. When you have when you have two established tight ends, you'd think you'd put them out there in passing routes more often. So that way it just takes some heat off the young wideouts. We don't really seem to be doing that, man. And I'm not talking about just like we're sending them out there, they're not getting open, like they're there. It's just they don't seem to be like emphasized in the offense. That's the right word to use. Now, I don't know if that's Hurts staring people down and not taking what's there. I don't know if that's Sirianni not wanting them to be the focus of the play and kind of like play calling them out of it. But whatever it is, these are two of the best weapons on our team, whether you like them or you hate them. You got to start using them at some point. And I'm really surprised Hurts doesn't use them more, to be quite honest, because a tight end in today's passing game is like every young QB's like safety blanket. But like it just doesn't seem to be the case with him, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But like he's got to start looking their way a little bit more when they're like arguably the second and third best receivers on our team.
Yeah.
So give it to them. I really think they're gonna have to be focused on more in this week's offense. And I do actually have to go after this, man. Got to get back to class. But it was dope joining up for this with you.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for joining in, Sanjay. Appreciate you, man.
See you dudes.
Peace out, Sanj. Yeah, no, I completely echo Sanjay's thoughts on that. I think it's got to be a little bit better in terms of using the tight ends there. And Idrip mentions attack their number one corner. He's also garbage, honestly. Yeah, look, Trayvon Diggs and Anthony Brown, I mean, they're serviceable on the outside, but Devontae Smith should eat against whoever he's going up against in man coverage. I have a little trouble saying the same for Rager, but him and Quez hopefully can eat against, whether they're in the slot or outside, hopefully eat against Jordan Lewis or Anthony Brown. I'm guessing Diggs is going to be on Devontae most of the time, and also familiarity there with Devontae and Diggs. I mean, he's going to know how to beat him. Same with Diggs. He might know how, he might have gotten used to defending Devontae, but I imagine Devontae got the better of those matchups in college, or in practice at Alabama. I also want to talk about, I think it was Idrip who also mentioned this, turnovers. I mean, look, this has not been, the Eagles defense has been really good, but you got to flip the field at some point. I mean, we've got to find a way to get turnovers, because Dallas, on the other hand, their defense has been getting a lot of turnovers. And whoever wins the turnover battle could end up winning this game very easily. Field position is a big part of it too, but focusing on the turnovers, I mean, our secondary's got to find a way. It's going to be tough against Dak. I mean, he's a pretty smart passer. There's going to be a lot of out routes they complete near the sideline. I mean, that's just a given with the Cowboys anytime you play them. And, when that's not there, they're going to kind of go underneath that safety blanket with Jarwin or Schultz, or they'll also go to Pollard in the passing game too. So there's options there. Cedric Wilson, again, I know Gallup's out, but Cedric Wilson's a solid weapon. And you got CeeDee Lamb in the slot, who was one of the better slot receivers coming out of Oklahoma, and he's been awesome in Dallas. And Amari Cooper, who we know full well, and we need to see Darius Slay and kind of, hopefully limit him. He didn't play last year in the second game against Cooper. He did in the first game and did fairly well, I believe. That was an ugly game, but yeah, the Eagles have got to find a way. And like Idrip said, like they just got to catch the ball sometimes. I mean, they've had opportunities to, but there's a couple plays where they've just, I think Anthony Harris, there was one that he had an opportunity to get last week. Haven't been too impressed with him thus far, which is a little disappointing. I think he's going to be all right, but I'm expecting him to play at a little bit of a higher level. And yeah, just like you said, Idrip, like knocking the ball out in the run game too, just like not just getting the tackle, but from time to time, on occasion, just trying to knock that ball loose, punch it loose, and hopefully be able to, get the ball back. And, they saw it last week. That was an interesting call with the Kayvon Wallace thing. We won't get into that too much because that's a whole nother topic. But, that was kind of knocked out, I think, just because he got knocked in the head. But Wallace also you know, hit Sermon first from behind, and then Wallace ended up not being able to, he ended up kind of colliding heads, and then I think that knocked the ball loose, just the fact that he hit in the head that hard. But you got to find ways to hopefully. I mean, last year, or 2 years ago in the Week 16 game versus Dallas, they had a pitch to the left. I want to say it was Pollard who got it, and it was 3rd and 1, and the Cowboys were driving downfield. And keep in mind, a field goal is going to put them in the lead in this game, and we knocked the ball loose, recover it, and I want to say it was Edwards who we recover it. And that changed that game, because I think we scored the next drive for a touchdown, and Sanders got in at the 1-yard line. So, yeah, I mean, you've got to find a way to win this turnover battle. I think it could end up deciding who wins this game, honestly. I always have 1 or 2 things that I think could end up having a big outcome on the game. And obviously, turnover battle in general is a big indicator of who wins usually. But I think even more so in this game, it could really literally decide who wins the game. In a rivalry like this, where every possession is so crucial, it's going to be huge. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about Jalen Hurts too. Now, I know he is the 2nd-rated passer by PFF, and he's been good so far. I will give him a lot of credit. I mean, I've been thoroughly impressed with him, and I think a lot of his hard work has paid off. But he's still having some of those young QB mistakes. Right, this is his first full season, as to be expected. We're still early in the season. There's just been a couple times where I think he's not made the best decisions. Underthrown a little bit. Inaccuracy, I think, has been a problem. Again, you can check out that one play I analyzed earlier. He threw a little bit behind Kenny Gainwell, and it could have been a huge gain. And that's the difference sometimes between getting in field position for a field goal and getting in field position for a touchdown. So it's the little things like that that can just make or break a game. And I think this game, look, he's just going to have to be able to stay composed. And last year he went up 17-0 on Dallas, but just stay composed, take it play by play, drive by drive. You make a mistake, you move on. I think Jalen's got that to him. He's got that personality where he's not going to harp on mistakes. He's going to move on to the next play. I can fix that in practice this week, but I've got to focus on the next play, right? Not worry about the last play. But I do think that there's a few things I'd like to see him get cleaned up this upcoming week, just because that's the thing I've always criticized Dak for, is limiting yards after catch. And yards after catch really is largely a result of the quarterback and where the ball is placed. And I think that I don't want Hurts to become that. So I think that he needs to improve a little bit in that regard. We'll see. I think there's also times where he's still escaping from the pocket, or feeling pressure when it's not there a little bit too early, and I think that's affecting possible throws and possible decisions for that are out there. And when he gets outside the pocket, look, he does work, and it benefits us, and we get first downs. But there was a throw last week where he had Devontae Smith. I think it was cover 2, and he had a whole shot wide open to Devontae Smith that was just wide open, and it would have been a touchdown easily. And Hurts ran it, got the yards, but he missed a touchdown there. So little things like that just got to get cleaned up. And like iDrip says, Hurts has just had some underthrows and bad decisions, and his accuracy as well. I completely agree with all that. I'm hoping it'll go on by week 3 or 4. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It might take some time. Like maybe it'll take each week, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, if he can just get those little kinks worked out, I think he'll be fine. And he's a hard worker. I think he's going to be totally fine. I'm not too worried about him striving for that, but there's just some little things he's got to get cleaned up. So I just wanted to mention that. Hurts to Ertz and Goddard. Yeah. Let's hope we hear that. I'm hoping he plays. So we are going to be doing a preview show. I mean, I know we've talked about a lot of different things here. Sanjay and I will be doing our own preview show on Philly Insider, probably Saturday, I would say. Tomorrow, I probably won't be able to. But Saturday, we'll probably do preview since the Monday night game. Or we might even do some pregame stuff on Monday as well. So, keep an eye out for that. I want to just make sure you guys check out our channel, but also check out Bird Gang Nation Sports Media, which we're on right now. Doing great things. We've got a lot of guys on here. D Gifted 314, One Trey Rock, Cool Cat Connor, Bird Gang 31 himself, JC Eagles, aka Eagles Uncensored Podcast. And I'm probably forgetting a couple of you guys too, which I really apologize for, because you guys are awesome and doing a lot of great work here at Bird Gang Nation Sports Media. So make sure you guys go check them out on Twitter, Facebook here. Check the links in the description and go sub it up to their channel. Sub up to Philly Insider too. Check out my stuff on InsideTheEagles.com. Just wanted to say that real quick before we kind of wrap up here with some closing thoughts. So if you guys had any questions in the chat, make sure you put them down there. But I do want to get to a comment that was a little bit earlier. I think it was iDrip. Consistent with run blocking. Yes. I think that Goddard wasn't as good as usual in run block. I wouldn't say he was bad last week in terms of that, but I expect a little bit more from him at this point. I was a little disappointed in that. I would say as a whole, the Eagles, opening up a hole for the running back. That was a good dad joke there, dad pun. But the Eagles just got to be a little bit better with, run blocking. I wouldn't say they've been bad, but there were a couple times last week where Kenny just had nowhere to go. Miles had nowhere to go. And they found the hole and hit it, but, there was just not much room after that to the second level. So, and Fred Warner, look, he's tough to block. He's athletic. You're going to have it decently. But I do think it's something they've got to get a little better with. And I'm a little worried with Dickerson with that just because it's his first week in here and, might be some stuff that he's just not used to yet. But we'll see how he does. And I think that, look, Miles has done a good job thus far. I've been impressed with him, and I hope they would use him in passing him a little bit more. I know he's got the dropsies, but he's looked okay in the regular season. He has. I think that's fair to say. And, yeah, Kenny, I'd like to see a little bit more of. I'd also like to see on that Philly special look, they motioned Devontae into the backfield. Now, we can talk about the Philly special in a bit, but I think that I want to see guys like Devontae and Rager a little bit more in the backfield, whether it's on orbit motion, swing motion, just to have them in there because I think they can do that. I mean, they run like running backs, and I think just having them in there with Kenny or Sanders, or even if you have Rager and Smith out there in the backfield in a 21 personnel set, I doubt that'll happen. But I would like to see them motion into the backfield a little bit, just to get a little bit more diversity in our run game. I think our run game has had some diversity so far. We saw Wham in the first two plays of the game last week, which was Goddard with the Wham block. You saw power. You saw, the regular zone rules. You saw, you've seen, that swing motion with Kenny a little bit, where not really even a run play, but it's a chance for him to act as a run play. Bubble screens, which I would say are kind of an extension of the run game. I think we have seen some diversity, but I would like to see that extra element with Smith or Rager in there, because we heard that's kind of what they were doing in preseason and not in preseason, in training camp. Sorry. And I do want to see a little bit of that. And I think we do need to be a little more consistent. While we have a really good run blocking group, it just comes down to consistency. And there were some missed plays, some missed screen passes where we just didn't get the blockers out there in time. And overall, just not getting to the second level as well last week. But I think we'll be okay. Kelsey's there. He's going to be able to communicate the protection and everything. Sam Milo's done a really good job. And hopefully Lane and Mailata can help out too with Dickerson. Hopefully Lane especially just being next to him. But just all it takes is one mistake. So these guys just got to get a little bit better as a group here. J. Joe's done a good job in rollouts. Surprisingly, he's been used on just to kind of seal off that edge too. Shout out to him. He's been good in the run game and the pass game as a blocker. Not what we drafted him for, but we'll take it. And yeah, iDrip says Greg could have ran it on the Philly special. Yeah, there were blockers. And I think they were also worried about getting upfield with illegal man down. So it's tough. I think that that's a tough play. And I do agree. He probably could have ran it in. The thing that ticked me off about that play was that they ran it to the boundary side of the field too. Like, I don't get why we're running it on the right hash. It just made no sense. So if you're going to run that, you got to have it on the left hash so that Ward can roll out to his right. You got to run it to the field side, right? It just made no sense to me. So it is what it is. But, that play in general, I just didn't think it was necessary. I thought that the Eagles should have just punched it in before that. Whatever. But Philly the podcast. What's up, Joe? You're coming in at the tail end of this. I'm about to wrap up. If you got any questions, any comments, drop below. Same with you, iDrip. I'll just kind of do Q&A the last couple minutes here, and we'll wrap up. But if you guys don't have any questions, I'll just keep rambling a little bit, and then we'll head out. But yeah, I think I pretty much talked about the entire team. iDrip, you mentioned Josh Sweat too. I think he's going to definitely have a big day. I hope they put him up against Terrence Steele. I do like Josh Sweat standing up at times, but I also like him with his hand in the dirt. I think he's gotten used to that now after a couple of years with Jim Schwartz. And Oh my gosh, iDrip, you just mentioned like my favorite player on the Eagles. I love Patrick Johnson, and you probably saw the interview I did with him before the draft. That's my guy. Like Patrick Johnson is my dude. I love seeing him play. I think he's going to be one of the steals of the draft this year. I still do. I think that, yeah, like you said, like if you're going to move him, if you're going to move maybe hopefully Derek Barnett kind of more to that hand in the dirt role at that 4 technique, I'd love to see Patrick Johnson take on more of a role standing up, because I think he's great in week 1, but I think PFF, I think he had a 2 grade because his overall grade now is pretty high. Not too high, but considering the amount of snaps he's played, he hasn't played. Talk to him. He was really the defensive coaches at Tulane used his notes for the whole defense on film because he just knew he knew everything that he was doing. He was that intelligent about the game, and they trusted him. And he played seven defensive snaps in week 1 and 13 in week 2. So he's definitely being used a little bit more. And I think you saw when BG went out, we used him quite a bit. I want to see him on the edge because he can drop back into coverage. He can rush from the edge as well if you need him to. I haven't seen him do that a ton here, but he can do that. And I mean, he can even line up on the interior if you needed him to. I mean, the guy can do whatever you ask him to do. And I think he's a smart football player. I think he is a talented football player with the fundamentals, who maybe isn't the biggest guy, but I think he has a strong fit in this defense. I do. I think Jonathan Gannon really likes him and knows how to use him. And like you said, Ajib, like absolutely that should be his punishment. That is benchable material right there from Derek Barnett. And I don't know why they didn't take him out. I know it was towards the end of the game, but like that's just really, that's stuff that just can't happen. And it happens all the time with Derek Barnett. It's like his 8th personal foul penalty as an Eagle. It drives me up a wall. Like, just play disciplined football for once, So I absolutely agree with you there. Patrick Johnson should be playing more snaps than him. If he's going to do that, as punishment, like you said, and also just to reward Pat Johnson too, because he's played well. And yeah, like I said, Pat Johnson's a versatile guy. Definitely going to play more on the edge, but yeah. So he's at a 59.8 on PFF right now, and obviously PFF's not the Bible, but I do think they put out some good information, and I do think they're right. He got a little bit better this week. So, guys, that's pretty much all I had planned for y'all. If you got any questions, drop in the chat. Thank you all for interacting with me and for the support on the page on Philly Insider and on Bird Gang Nation Sports Media. Again, check out all the links below for their stuff. Make sure to go sub up to them on YouTube. Go follow them on Facebook and join their group. Go follow them on Twitter. It's all down there below. And make sure you go sub up Philly Insider as well and check out my work on Inside the Eagles. So, guys, thank y'all for watching. Run, Booby, run. Fly goes fly. I'll play the Dallas hype video for the outro, and then peace out. See y'all.
Dallas, we hate you. You know what's going on!
escaping. McMahon rolling to the outside, coming back this way. Has a lot of room. Is going to launch one.